directors for the reports, Steve?
Yes. The activities for the month of December, the juvenile facility as follows. We processed 41 juveniles. In December, we counseled 3. We did not have any community service workers working in the month of December. However, we did transport 7 juveniles from Jackson, Tennessee, Chattanooga, several different locations for treatment facilities. We had 1 out-of-county juvenile from Hamilton County that we served. Our average daily population for December was 8. For this quarter, we had 126 juveniles. Fiscal year to date, you can see that we had 276, which is up over last year. This time last year, we had 219. The 20 juveniles were counseled during this quarter, 4 juveniles served public service work, 29 juveniles transported, and the 1 out of county was the 1 directed from the road. If anyone has any questions, please let me know. And maybe the questions I can.
Any questions for Judge Lane?
Probably don't like this.
No problem. Thank you, sir.
Let's see, moving on around. Rick, if you could do us an annual service report. Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, everyone. Should have before you there the December report for the ambulance service. And if you don't mind, let me start. This is the first time this committee has met, I think, since Andrew Whaley has been here with us. He's my new assistant director. I'd like to introduce him to you. Andrew's doing a good job. He's been with the ambulance service for some time and came on board. And like I said, he's doing a great job in the office there. We'll let that happen. You will notice a little bit of difference to our report. Let me explain that to you real quick. Is that we put that in the geographic area there. I kind of redesigned that. And the data that I pulled from our numbers is much more specific to just put it with each area that we go to. We have 6 stations and 6 areas that we serve in the county. So it was much more accurate for me to put numbers in based on that area. I can look and see the total number of calls that were ran in each area, regardless of if the ambulance that served that area is out on another call and another ambulance comes. So these numbers are much more reflective of an accurate number there. But anyway, we'll start at the top with our monthly collections, $69,002.85. We had 1,235 total requests for service. 941 of those were emergency calls, and 294 of those were non-emergency calls. That geographic breakdown of this book is down there before you can see what numbers are there. And in our fiscal year numbers, our collections, and I know that didn't get all the way over on the sheet, but it was $1,475,294 and some change. 7,485 total number of calls, 5,885 of those are emergencies, and 1,598 of those are non. And I'll be glad if you've got any questions on the report. I'll take those. And Mr. Chairman, I've got a couple more items I'd like to address. Yes, Mr. Davis.
On your, how many of this monthly report was related to the fire being into all parts of the state going to the motor vehicle facility that was related directly to the fire?
Well, there are some that's related directly to the fires that would have been in there. Actually, the fire, occurring on November 28th, or November 28th was the start of the fire, so it kind of broke up the month right in the middle of that week.
So some of it's not.
Yeah, by the time the 1st of December rolled around, we basically, I'll give you a detailed report of what all we did in just a minute. I want to speak on that, but we were servicing the shelter up there for the most part during the first couple of days of the month. Obviously until Friday, until they started letting people back in town. There really wasn't any 911 calls per se being ran in Gatlinburg, other than taking care of all the fire response and things, duties of that nature from the EMS standpoint. But I did plan on talking about that a little bit more in detail too. Any other questions on the report?
On your collections, 2 or 3 years ago, we got a company to send out the bill. So that percentage, us on our collections, Is it worth them doing it?
Well, and Brian and I have been looking at this monthly very in-depth. We're not meeting the projections that they gave us back prior to November of 2014 when they started. They've had some good months, and they've had some bad months. Some of this is not the billing company's fault. Medicare and everything, Medicare is doing everything in the world they can do to not pay a claim. So they'll be disputing some claims, and we have to resubmit those and things of that sort. As an example, 2 months ago, we were down around $211,000, and because of Medicare's withholding money, last month we were around 325, 330, somewhere around in there, and so we're back down to 269. We're monitoring that, and Brian and I have had discussions with the management team for our billing company. We're going to continue to look at that and see, are we getting everything that we're paying for? Right now, I think he and I would both probably say we're doing okay. They're still supplying us with the hardware that we're doing our charting on, which is an expense to them with the iPads and the devices that we're using. But rest assured that we're keeping it in close eye and monitoring it the very best that we can. I don't know if that.
Well, I'm just curious about the percentage that they charge, and then what they was collecting above, maybe what we was doing it ourselves without them doing it. Is it paying for itself?
Right.
Paying them?
Yeah, and I guess the best way to answer that right now is we're probably about breaking even with that. They're not meeting the additional revenue that they projected for us, and I think that's probably safe to say. But we are breaking even with the expenses that we're paying them on percentage. I think it's very, very close.
I think that we had hoped for, on average, we'd like to see maybe a little less than $300,000 a month come in on their revenue lines. That would be the optimal situation. I think Rick he summed up my feelings about it pretty well, which is there's some things they've done really good on, which is our aged receivables, how quickly we get things billed, the tickets coming in, those things have been really good. The overall, we're going to bring in a significant amount more money. It's not a handout. So there have been some good things, and there's been some disappointing things.
As far as the amount of money that we're bringing in, is it similar to what it was the previous fiscal year? Are we under, over, or?
I think we're going to eclipse last year for sure. There's interesting variables to take a look at it from the standpoint of Medicare rates. The reimbursement for Medicare has gone down since last year. So, you kind of have to take a look at how all those sort of fit together. That we're disappointed, but we know that Medicare's not paying as well. They've had some issues with that. So
the rates come down overall. I mean,
some of their
paying less for ambulance services nationwide.
Yes. Yep. And to be quite honest with you, of course, I don't foresee it ever happening, but Medicare's let it be known that they would prefer to get out of the paying for the ambulance transport business. Now, certainly, legislatively, I don't see that ever happening because there's enough people at the geriatric age with having representatives and all that kind of stuff to be supporting that. I don't see that ever happening. But they've sure made it known that they would, and they dispute every claim that they can with them. And so they look at it with a fine-tooth comb, and we have to resubmit if there's an issue. Even they'll deny something and not even have a reason. We have to resubmit it. So that automatically puts it behind the power curve. And your collections, like this monthly figure for December, that's probably collections from somewhere around August or September's actual run that we did. That's how far Medicare is behind and things of that nature. So it's a never-ending cycle of trying to get your money, basically. That's the best way to say it.
What percentage do they charge?
We pay 5.95% of the total collections. 4.95%, I'm sorry.
Oh,
4.95% of the total.
That's the same as Gatlinburg now?
That is.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, we're a 0.5% less than what Gatlinburg.
In the percentage of calls you had more calls this year than you had last year, percentage wise, are we collecting as much money or?
Well, that's a very good question, Commissioner Byrd, and I was going to speak about that. We had 14,265 calls for service during the calendar year of 2016. That's just shy of 1,000 more than what we ran in 2015. So our number of calls is going up. Obviously, our number of transports went up from last year. However, and as Brian kind of mentioned, our revenue is kind of staying about where it is, even though we're running more calls. Our revenue is pretty close to the same calls, but the decrease in reimbursement is the biggest key factor behind that. Otherwise, and the fact that we have so many private pay. You know, there's a lot of people that are out here that, depending on their situation, they're uninsured and they have no money to pay, and they may be paying $5 a month on their ambulance bill and things of that sort. So it's a difficult situation.
So percentage wise is down, but the calls are up, is what you're saying.
The calls are up, and probably the revenue is probably staying right at where it was last year, if I had to guess, not having the true numbers, but that would be very close to what Brian and I have been seeing from that standpoint.
Rick, do you see more like with the traditional Medicare, is that, you seen a bigger difference in collections from traditional Medicare versus your Advantage plans, some of those? I know there's a lot more of those now. Is it hard to collect from those than it is traditional?
It is.
That's what I.
Yeah, very much so. And, you know, newer people that are getting on the Medicare don't realize, you know, that, and that's what we're kind of facing from a big degree. It's just hard to do it. Yeah.
You just got 2 more weeks.
Yeah, that's right. Any other questions on the report? A couple other items. I mentioned that 14,265. Like I said, that's just under 1,000 more calls than what we did for last year. And I wanted to touch base and just kind of let you know for sure what all happened with us in Gatlinburg. I know a lot of people are going to be talking about that, but I could not be more prouder of our employees on the night of November 28th. I was at Heritage Middle School for a middle school basketball game with my son when my phone rang, and it was Chief Miller, who said he needed me and he needed ambulances to come up there, that he felt like he was going to lose a large portion of the town. And so I got headed in that way. We activated the Region 2 EMS mutual aid agreement, and we had 7 or 8 ambulances from out of county that were headed in that direction. In turn, we automatically sent 2 of our ambulances in that direction to assist with, they were doing anything from evacuations. We had leg fractures, we had things that were going on just in the haste of all the incidents up there, as you can imagine, from that standpoint. But I had, within the first 30 minutes of all that going on, I had at least 7 or 8 of our employees that voluntarily called me and said, hey, I'm available. I'll be glad to go get in a spare ambulance. And we did that. We sent 3 more additional ambulances up there as reserve ambulances, and had a total of 5 up there from our service. In that early time, Assistant Director Whaley was on board one of those ambulances, and you know, each discipline that was up there has a lot of stories that they can tell. But these guys went to some areas that they would describe as a war zone, and you know, they were pulling people out of condos and relocating them. You know, they tried to get into the Loop Road area, out in that area 2 or 3 times, and had power lines wrapped around the mirrors, trees were falling all around them, and things of that sort. They were coming back through the fire area there on East Parkway, and looked over on the sidewalk, and there was a gentleman walking on the sidewalk with a walker, and fire was everywhere around him. So they whipped the ambulance around, opened the side door, and got that gentleman in the ambulance. And they talked about the back of that gentleman's coat was so hard he was barely able to touch it. So this man, you know, likely they saved his life, and they took him to the shelter and all that. But our employees, we were there assisting with that for all the way through the next Sunday, providing ambulance support and all that. So I'm really proud of our service, proud of our employees, appreciate the mayor's support there as well. And so, everything went well. We didn't have injuries, and I think anybody that was involved in that up there, we're all very thankful that we did not have any responders that basically we had to have a funeral for, because it was very dangerous for a very extended period of time up there from that standpoint. Do you all have any questions for me regarding our response up there? Mr. Davis, I don't know if that kind of answers what you had there.
And let me say, I was there the whole time, and Rick and all the guys, ladies that worked the ambulance service did a great job. They were there the whole time. I mean, it started about 7 o'clock or earlier. I got there about between 6:30 and 7 on Monday night, and they were there all night and up until the next day on great service. I appreciate it. And the little bit of folks there had all these people up in there. Was there on the scene as well, and everybody was working together trying to do the best we could under some really unusual and difficult circumstances. Because this thing happened so quickly, and the sheriff can attest to that. I mean, just absolutely unbelievable quickly. Because it was like from the time I got there, it wasn't 30 or 45 minutes till this thing had spread citywide and was spreading so fast that they couldn't keep up with how fast it was spreading in the areas. So I know the sheriff had to pull his people. They were up in the North Slade Village, Wiley, Oakley area, going house to house, evacuating people. And he eventually had to pull them out because they were in such a dangerous situation.
Well, if I can continue that thought with regard to the ambulance service before, there was no critical incident this last weekend that they were involved in, and had an opportunity to sit down and talk with as EMTs and review some video. And we appreciate all you do. You don't think about ambulance service employees that have been on the way that much. You all are there for people who get injured, but certainly with the fire and with that incident, the sheriff department, you guys are in the thick of things that I never recognized before. Certainly never said my appreciation. So.
Thank you for that, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate it. And I do have one other item I'd like to discuss with the committee. I guess probably about 2 or 3 months ago, I sat down and talked with the mayor's office and Assistant Mayor Patterson at that time, and made a suggestion that it's always been a thought of mine that at some point in time that we need to have an ambulance in the downtown Sevierville sector. The Dolly Parkway corridor is getting busier and busier. We always have had our home up on Milton, and we're very glad to be up there. But there's a lot of things that happen down in this direction, down in town, on this early areas of Chapman Highway and Highway 66, and so the thought came to my mind with the city of Sevierville doing what they're doing with building a new main fire station up on Dolly Parkway, and then after they get completed with that, they're going to be renovating the downtown fire station. And so, like I said, I went to the mayor's office and I said, could we at least explore the idea and see if the city of Sevierville would be interested in providing us a location in downtown Sevierville when they renovate that fire station. And this would not be a budget issue from our budget, because we would relocate one of the 3 ambulances that we have at our main station up there to downtown Sevierville, if by chance they would go along with it and provide us with a location. And I would ask that they provide us with an isolated sleeping area, isolated away from the firemen, if we are even in the same building. But I think the benefits to this are trifold in that, number one, we could better serve our residents and our visitors. Certainly the workforce that's here during the week in the downtown sector can be served better. And like I said, the Dolly Park corridor is just, you know, if one of our area ambulances, Seymour, Kodak, if they're on a call and the next ambulance that goes to that area is coming from our main station, and they're having to fight that Dolly Park corridor to get down and either turn to go out 66 or continue on down Chapman Highway, where an ambulance that would be in downtown Sevierville would be much closer to that call, and it certainly would be closer to calls that are in the downtown sector here. So Mayor Waters wanted me to present this to this committee to see if you guys would give us the go-ahead to pen a letter to the city administrator and the city council of Sevierville to say that when you begin renovations of your downtown fire station, see if they would consider the possibility of placing an area there. And like I said, I would want to put the phrase isolated in there. Isolated area where an ambulance crew could be stationed somewhere in that area there. And we would present that to the city folks and just see. I mean, they may or may not be acceptable to it, but I think it's an opportunity there to, once again, better serve the people that we're serving. And said all we can do is ask and see if they'd be interested in it.
I'll make a motion.
I'll say, is there any discussion on the motion and second? Anybody have any other questions? All those in favor? All opposed?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We'll get to work on that letter and get that going, and that's all that. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's move to the rescue squad.
This is December and April of the 2016 year. December, we had 37 MVAs, 11 autopsies, 1 public assist, 1 structure fire. Standby hours were 5,480 and a half. Medical standbys was 1 medical standby hour.
This month with the recent disaster, and again, no training this month. Typically in December with all the holidays, it's a slow training month, sometimes with, the recent disaster. Medical examiner cases, we have 7 in the month of December, 11 autopsies. So that brings us year to date, 310 medical examiner cases and 98 autopsies, and in 7 of those year to date, it was either indigent or unclaimed. And again, unclaimed as being that we didn't identify the person, it's just that there's no nexus between them. Homeland Security grants 2015, we have 21,600. 2016, we've got 26,600. Emergency Management Performance grants for 2017 is 40,500. The grand total of 88,700. We spent $8,592.03, which brings us down to about $8,107.97. And I just want to say the same thing that Rick said earlier, that I think all the responders did an amazing job considering the circumstances, once in a lifetime event. And I know that being up in that command post and seeing what was going on, again, standing behind the responders, they did an excellent job from the sheriff's office to the THP, to the ambulance service, to the Air National Guard, to whoever came and helped us in our aid. Several thousand people, several agencies, multiple apparatus, all came in and did a tremendous job to help aid us in a time of need. So, but if y'all have any questions, I'd be glad to answer. Question, Director Matheson?
On them grants, how long you got?
So each
How
one's
long
different.
can you-
Yeah. They used to be 3 years.
Certain time, right?
Right, they used to be open for 3 years, and then they started shortening, so now it's about a year, about 18 months really is what it is. Now, once they award it, so the 2016 money, they won't allow us to actually start spending usually until about January, February, so yeah, that's when it opens up. So January, February, the 2015 money, when we're gonna start spending a lot of that money, right? And it's typically, the way it works is, years ago, when there was a lot of that money available, It goes to the state of Tennessee, and then they divide it into districts. We're in District 2, and so there's 16 counties in the District 2 Homeland Security. They base it on population, so, obviously Knox County would receive the majority of that. Some of that money is taken away from each county and put into a training fund that allows all 16 counties to pull from. We have a class that is too expensive for departments to have on their own. And then the remaining amount is divided amongst us. Of course, you can see that we're right around the $20,000 to $25,000 mark each year, which has been kind of consistent for like, since 2012. Actually, 2012, we didn't get any money. And maybe it was 2011, I think it was 2012 we didn't get any money. 2013, we did receive money, and that was really because of the Boston bombing. So the money went away, and then they realized there was still a need for Homeland Security funds, so they brought it back the next year. And now they tell us we can only spend it on money that the projects that were created with Homeland Security. So back when they were first created in 2004, 2005, if a county decided to open up and say, well, we want to establish a bomb squad, for example, and they use that money to purchase equipment to get one of those types of, and it could be a bomb squad, it could be a SWAT team, it could be whatever the county desired. Now they only want you to use those dollars to keep those programs running. So you can't really start a new project, if that makes any sense. You can't start a new organization or new program within a emergency service department with Homeland Security funds. They want you to really just be specific. So we do exactly that. We keep for communications and we keep it for bomb squad. We do well funded programs that we experience. So.
This may be a question that's better answered by the mayor's office, John, but with regard to our obligations for any reimbursements for mutual aid, is the county going to be responsible for, under mutual aid agreements, for reimbursing anyone who came to our aid?
Okay. So there are mutual aid agreements within the cities, an insurance mutual aid agreement that was signed a long, long time ago. And for inter-county response, there typically is not any money exchange or any, knowing that if Gallenberg was called to City of Scribble one day, that vice versa, so there's usually no money exchange there.
Inside the county.
Right, outside the county resources. And then 2004, the state legislature passed a law, mutual aid law, that we all follow under. And it basically says that if you request outside resources and they come to your aid, that the requesting department would be responsible for any kind of reimbursement. Now, having said that, it's typically based on a FEMA rate schedule. And that schedule set up, say an engine, for an example, could be worth so many dollars an hour, $100 an hour, and that's supposed to be wear and tear and diesel cost, all included in that hourly rate. And then they would bill that city or entity that money. And of course, they would have to then pay that money to that responding department. Those costs are reimbursable to the cities or the county, municipality, whoever paid that expense, up to 75%. And then, by fee. And then the other is 75%. And then the other remaining 25%, typically, of course, I don't speak for the state of Tennessee, but typically they'll kick in 12.5% of that. So the local share is about 12.5%. Now, the thing with this particular disaster is there was an FMAG grant, which stands for Fire Management Assistance Grant. I personally never been involved in one of those. I don't think anybody really has. It's the first one I believe that we've got for Sevier County response this level. So some of that response is going to fall underneath the FMAG grant, and then some of the response is going to fall underneath FEMA. Okay? So,
What's the FMA grant related to?
It's
National Park or
it's
is it
related.
sector to them?
It's specifically related to response to aid in any kind of large scale fire. So it would be
Forest or urban or either?
It would be either. So it would be, Air National Guard, it would be U.S. Forestry, it could be fire trucks that we're sending all across the state. Again, it's not too clear who's going to fall underneath that. The takeaway is that
there will be aid to whomever incurred cost on setting those apparatus, but it's going to fall under two different categories.
Did any of the federal agencies, National Park or U.S. Forestry, did they make a request for mutual aid?
Not from us, I don't believe. They have their own channels they have to call
Do
through.
you know if they did that?
I don't know. But now they use FMAG. If any response, from what I understand, would fall under FMAG.
Because they're going to have local and state resources come to them. They didn't, national resources didn't respond to
Or is it to extinguish the
the
fire?
extinguishing
Did
the
they call
fire.
anybody?
Did they call state resources in?
They had the Tennessee Air National Guards up there on Sunday, even before the fire. You know, they had helicopters up there on Sunday and working, so it's going to be it's very safe to say it's going to be a very complicated issue to see exactly how all this.
Who called in to help? Who actually made the request?
So the federal government would call, they would call the state directly for aid in that particular matter. It would not come through our office.
Okay. And then, as far as our resources, county resources go, who actually called for mutual aid? Did Gatlinburg City do that, or the county?
Yes, that's correct.
So Gatlinburg City was the one making the request.
The way the law is set up right now, and it's a little bit different in the city because the city manager is involved in it. Maybe the mayor, maybe it's the mayor, I can't remember. But the incident commander also, who at that time was the fire chief, and he actually made the request. Now, in the area outside the city up there, he was also the incident commander because we contract, as you all know, we pay each of these cities an amount of money, and the Fire Chiefs Association does a map, and on that map it shows the area that they are responsible for. So outside that area, outside of Gatlinburg, was where Gatlinburg was responsible. So he was the incident commander, not only in the city, but in that area outside of Gatlinburg. So he would be the responsible party to request mutual aid.
Well, I was really surprised to learn, though, that you, as the chief executive of the county, didn't have the authority to evacuate.
That's correct.
I was surprised to learn.
And that was, and I've known that before, and I questioned why. I mean, not that I want to.
You can't tell me to leave my house at any time. That's
one plus. That's one plus, isn't it? But I think they're going to review that, and when we review all of this stuff, just for Brian, when we review all that stuff, that's going to be one of the things that reviewed, because as I said, not that I would want to do that, but I think it's appropriate for whoever the county mayor is, whether it's me or somebody else, to be involved in that decision with the incident commander and maybe the EMA director, all to be involved in making that decision. I think he should be. And why they have a specific section of the code that says the county mayor can, I don't know. What that code says that if I want to evacuate an area, I've got to call the governor, and the governor has to call back, and then the governor has to go through this process that he goes through to call for an evacuation, which would take hours to do.
You know, everyone's speak up?
Yeah. No, it's the code is different for cities. It is different for cities, but the county says that, and why it says that, I can't tell you.
Well, obviously, it's not the time or place to go into particulars for it.
Right. But they need to review that.
But
They need to review that.
the principle of my question was, does it look like that the citizens of Sevier County and our resources are going to be on the hook for the majority of reimbursement for mutual aid? Does it look like?
No, I think
Well,
it's,
the other aspect of that is that those responding fire departments would have to send us an invoice for them to pay. Now, we've called in outside resources probably how many times a year do we call for wildfires? 3 or 4 times a year, and they've never asked for reimbursement. We've went to 8 other counties in response, actually other even states, and we've sent folks to South Carolina. And again, we don't typically ask for reimbursement just because it's just that idea that we know that.
and I don't know of any
request.
Yeah.
No one has asked it.
Anybody losing apparatus? I know that
We got some damage. There's James Chapel lost some stuff, and Pickens Center Fire Department lost some communication towers and whatnot. So, and we're looking at those specific cases, if there's any assistance available through the FMAD grant or through the FEMA reimbursement. We're going to meet this week with all the fire chiefs, volunteer fire chiefs, with an FMAC specialist, a FEMA specialist, and FEMA to figure out, if there's anything. If there's not, so there's some nonprofits that have stepped up and said that they potentially can help.
And we don't think there's any from outside this area.
Yeah.
I don't think out in the county we had very many. I think most of what they were trying to do is they had all the fire apparatus up in Gallup trying to save the town. Because up on the mountain, up there, it was been already devastated. There was nothing they could save
Yeah.
there. Because there's wires everywhere.
But if there was anything, it would be 75% paid by the federal government, 12.5% paid by the state, and then 12.5% paid by the city or county involved. So, I mean,
Maybe quit.
yeah.
So, right, so if Gatlinburg, the Pigeon Forge, they're one of the two larger ones that made requests to come in to, in this fire. Those cities would pay that bill, and then they would turn and work with FEMA and say, okay, we paid this X amount of dollars for emergency response, and they would reimburse the city. The city's basically an applicant to FEMA, and then they get 75% like that. And then the state will kick in 12.5 to 25%. So, the county's gonna be out some money, for a lot of things, but response.
Yeah.
And the things that we're out, we're again qualify for FEMA, and we'll be an applicant, we'll get 75% money first.
And some of the things, and I can tell you this, some of the things that we're out for right now is, for instance, at Lloyd's Fair that is doing the distribution. They didn't have heat. So we said, nor did they have electricity. So we said, and I think we is probably going to end up being mainly the city of Gatlinburg and the county sharing this expense. We said, yeah, we're going to get you heat, we're going to pay for that, we're going to pay for electricity, because we've got to have it. We've got 300 volunteers in there, and they've got to have heat at this time of year.
How did that facility come about?
They began looking around for a facility that could handle, yes, that it was empty and could handle the volume of people and could handle the volume of goods. And of course, was not able to handle the volume of goods, but a lot of goods were stored up there. But that's how it came about. They looked for facilities to do
Loading
that.
docks, whatnot. Usually a warehouse is key, but again, we all know this area very well. There's no vacant warehouses anywhere, so that was really the best option.
Yeah.
And we've found means to heat, since then, we've actually found some more efficient ways we're working towards.
But we're going to, we'll be splitting that cost probably with the city of Gatlinburg. But again, the federal government is going to come in, we hope, and pay 75% of that cost. And then the state will pay 12.5%, we think, and then we'll pay 12.5%. We'll probably split that with the city of Gatlinburg.
A good way to review this, because of course we just went through a federal declared disaster in February, the last February, the winter storms. The way it's set up, early 90s they came up with this formula. And this formula is based on per capita, and there's thresholds for each county, and then there's a threshold for the state. So it's supposed to be set up that Sevier County, based on our population, should be able to absorb $350,000 in any disaster aid in any kind of emergency. And absorbed it in their general fund, absorbed in their budget, and it should be fine without needing any other assistance. As soon as you go over that threshold, based on that formula, then it's supposed to look to the state for aid. Okay? And the state's got their threshold. Threshold for the state's about $9 million. So again, the same concept is they believe the state of Tennessee should be able to absorb $9 million to aid their counties in some type of response before they're going to look for the federal government for assistance. So that's the tiered approach before FEMA gets in. And that's for public assistance, which we're all talking about. Then there's individual assistance, and that's for the folks, the victims. And there's really no threshold. There's key markers that we try to paint a picture of how devastating disaster is and why we need aid and then we put it in one big document, send it to FEMA.
Make sure I understood what you just said, John. Public funds have to exceed 9 million before the federal relief will kick in.
Yeah, so typically, statewide.
State's over 350, right? When you get over 350,000, state kicks in.
Okay, so here's a great example. So typically, let's, in a large scale disaster, more than one county is involved. Right now, Sevier County was the only one involved in this tragic event. So let's use a tornado or something else that would be large scale. If there's a tornado that came through, or some kind of mega storms came through the state of Tennessee and affected 15 counties, and say Sevier County did not get much damage, and so our damage to public buildings, roadways, whatnot, only reached $200,000. Okay, that's what we turned in saying this is the damage that occurred in Sevier County. But all these other counties, the other 11, 12 counties that were affected, they all reached their threshold. Okay, say they're for, like Knoxville, it's going to be a couple million. So all that money is then calculated underneath the state's $9 million too. So the state's going to be sending TDOT, they're going to be spending a lot of money to aid in this disaster. So once that $9 million threshold for the state of Tennessee collectively, we can add all the county's money together plus the state's response together, come up with $9 million. Once that's reached, then the federal government says, okay, it's a large enough disaster, Tennessee's going to need some aid, let's go in there and see if we can help them. And then they come in. Now all the counties that were involved, if they didn't reach their threshold like we did not, we only reached $200,000, we would not get federal assistance. So we've got to reach our
If you don't reach your county threshold, you're not getting state or federal.
Right.
Correct.
And the county threshold is 350,000.
And
then
so
the state
is $9 million.
And we usually pay the state because the electric system is almost $6 million. And this has to be uninsured.
No, this is just public, so anything is paid with public funds, so public utilities, not-for-profit, so that's
Road damage,
utilities.
And all this is uninsured, that's what I was saying.
Yeah, so if there's a building damage that's uninsured, the county or municipality owns, yes, that would be eligible. Or the deductible for that insurance claim would be.
You all know about road damage, and obviously utilities were suffered greatly.
Yeah.
Road damage, now, retaining walls and stuff like that.
Retaining walls and stuff we've done, yes.
And so unique with this one is we had to reach $9 million. The Sevier County had to come up with, there was no other counties putting money in towards that, So it was hard to get that declaration, which delayed it a little bit. We were trying.
But it has been submitted at this point.
Yeah, but we've been awarded.
Yeah, we've been declared a federal disaster.
In like 15 days or something, no, 20 days now. And then you submitted it.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
And of course, now that's public assistance for PA, and that's for public dollars, it's assistance for us. Then there's individual assistance where, again, that's for the victims, that's the ones that are going to get money that's lost their homes completely. I think right now we're at FEMA's issued $1.9 million worth of checks to families in Sevier County that's been affected by this fire. 24, 25 of them reached the maximum amount of money, which is $33,900.
They didn't have insurance.
If you got a home and you're uninsured,
If you had a home that was uninsured and you met the income guidelines of the federal government. And
Denied an SBA loan.
Yeah.
You have to get denied on the process.
you get a check for $33,900.
It has to be primary residence. It has to be.
Yes, it can't be a resident. It has to be primary residence. You get a check. That's not all you get. Now, you can go to these people can go to the Small Business Administration, and they can take that, say they want to build back. They can take and request the Small Business Administration to loan them, say that they're going to build back a $100,000 house. Well, they've got $35,000. They need a $65,000 loan. The SBA will give them a $65,000 loan at 1.5% interest if they meet the, or HUD may be doing that. Yeah, it's HUD.
It seems like it's a small business.
Yeah, but it may be HUD doing that. They'll give them a loan at 1.5% interest to finish that house if they meet the guidelines.
And one thing that we want to ensure, if there's anything we can get the citizens, business owners, whether you were directly affected by the fire or indirectly affected by the fire, feel that you may be able to get FEMA assistance or don't know if you're getting FEMA assistance, is just register. the first step in getting the FEMA assistance, you've got to register.
You gotta register. We're telling everybody,
Pushing everybody to mountaintop.org.
even if you don't think you qualify or you don't think you were hurt bad enough, still go register with FEMA, because they've got a number of I don't even know what all programs they have available for people in disasters, what qualifies them. We're telling everybody, if you're hurt at all, you go register with FEMA, and they'll take you through the process. They'll figure out when you qualify.
The way it
Is
was
there any
explained
type
to
of
me-
loss of income?
Well, the way it was explained to me, they said even folks like 5 Oaks Mall should go, you own a business down here, zero, it's not affected. You just register for FEMA, because if there's loss of income, just based on what you made last year, this year, there might be some assistance from FEMA. So, no matter who it is, everybody.
Yeah, they're saying everybody go register.
Yeah, register for FEMA. And you go to mountaintop.org, if they don't know where to go to mountaintop.org, as soon as you go on there, there's a pop-up window that says register for FEMA. You click right there, and it brings you, there's a 1-800 number they can call. They can go to the DRC, which is one in Gatlinburg, is one in Pigeon Gorge. So they want to talk to somebody, they can face-to-face, they can go there. And the centers will be open until until there's not a need for
And
them.
FEMA's gonna be here about 3 months from now.
There is a deadline to register, and I can't remember when it is it February or January, is it February something? I remember reading about it, I don't know what the deadline was.
And Boyd's Bear is gonna be open February 15th.
Yeah.
That's where people can go that'll be affected with fire and get food and other necessities, clothes, whatever. It's all there at Boyd's Fair, and it's going to be open until February 15th to provide these necessities for people who have been affected by fire.
Is there been talk, or if there even is, offers left over, will that go to certain area storage, or?
They've got more clothes than ever.
Yeah.
Well,
So what we're
well,
doing,
the thing of it is,
we're gonna divide it
people
amongst
who are
the-
living in hotels can't take much right now.
Yeah.
So what we're
They won't need it for
county, we're gonna basically try to give it to the organizations that are raised up, so Jim Davis with Food Ministry, SMARM that does clothes, and we're gonna get with our partners in the community, and then help them, and then start trying to get these folks to see the agencies that are gonna do that stuff on a daily basis, we're
I
gonna
see
support them.
the bigger need for that stuff over the next 6 weeks, really, as people get settled in.
Any other questions for Director Rankin?
Thank you, John.
You did an outstanding job, Rankin.
Why we didn't do this, and what happened on this. And we had a review with the sheriff about what really went on. Get back into the system some days after that and pull the data to give everybody an idea of what took place in the system. During the peak of the thing, we looked at it for the 24 hours, starting like 4:30 on the 28th, and we've done the 24 hours in the following day. In that 24-hour period of time, we're very proud of what it's done. And probably we can take the radio system and we can tell you how hard your people work for you. And that's the sheriff, that's the ambulance service, that's all the fire departments that participated. And I have some statistics, and of course, I don't want to browbeat you all with numbers, but let me just give you 2 or 3 numbers. For example, let's talk about the fire departments and emergency services. They had 14,708 calls that went through the Bluff Mountain side.